They're face to face with the kids, the ones that are throwing chairs and desks and
Mm-hmm.
books and computers. Uh, the admin are slow to respond if they do. You don't know when they're coming, so she's on her own until somebody comes in there to help her.
That is
And
crazy.
it's not a condition of employment to be willing to get your butt kicked in your job.
What do you got for me? Yeah, what do you got for me? Baby, would you stand and fight?
All right, Mr. William Lasko, welcome to the Speakeasy Conversations. Before we get into talking about your campaign for Sparta School Board, I want to remind the audience that it takes a lot of coffee to keep this operation running. Please head on over to cooleyconservatives.com. Click the little Buy Me a Coffee button if you like this kind of content, this kind of authentic conversation. It's a great way to leave us a tip and just show that we're providing the kind of service that you expect. All right, Mr. William Lasko, candidate for Sparta School Board. Tell the audience about yourself. What is the role of school board versus the superintendent? How do they balance each other out?
The school board handles the school's business and votes, and with the budget for the school district, all those business ends of it that way, and then they'll like write school policies,
Mm-hmm.
those types of things, and then the superintendent has a staff that carries out their orders, so to speak.
Okay.
Runs the school. And
so the board sets the vision and the budget, and the superintendent and his staff then they implement that vision.
Right.
That makes sense.
That's a good way to say it. And that's where you get into these school board associations. Right away, they want to hustle you over to one of those and be told what it means to be on a school board.
Yeah.
They do that in Congress, you know.
Yeah. Well, and I've seen too friends that have been on school boards who say that there's a lot of pressure to just do whatever the superintendent wants. But like you're saying, that's not their role. Their role is to set the vision for the district, and then the superintendent is supposed to execute on that, implement it for you.
Right. So when we got this superintendent, the board fell into doing the same thing.
Mm-hmm.
And I think it's worse even than it was with her, but I wasn't around her much at all before she finally left. And these people just toddle off into the sunset and get hired someplace else without them knowing what the reason she left. Not the real reason. It's whatever she says on her resume, I guess.
Oh, good point. Yeah, because are they going to follow up with, if they do follow up, it's probably the references that she provides.
Yeah. Or they're calling the new superintendent here to talk about her.
Yeah.
I don't know. That doesn't sound very good either.
Well, it would be interesting to come up with a way that they could talk to the parents, because it's the parents who should be, really the power behind how their kids are getting educated.
Right. There are some better school board associations that believe in parental authority to decide to direct the education of their kids and rear their children as they see fit.
Yeah, that's the way to go.
There's a bunch of school districts that don't like that. They don't like schools having authority. They don't even want to acknowledge it. And that's why you tend not to have very many people at school board meetings, unless there's some big situation going on.
Yeah. Well, and the other thing I think about too is I know a lot of parents, they're busy with their careers, they're busy raising their family. Going to a meeting like that is kind of outside of the scope of, putting food on the table. That's what they're interested in.
I've told some of the school board members, because this year there's some of them get on Facebook and stuff and some of these sites, and they got a hold of my messenger on Facebook, and some of them are talking about, well, you know, it's the kids' fault. They want to blame the kids and the parents too
Wow.
for the kids not doing so well. And I said just exactly what you said. I said, wait a second, they're paying for everything. But to do that, they got to get up in the morning and go to work.
Mm-hmm.
And when they get home at night, there's not enough energy and time. I mean, they can make time. I agree with that, but I wouldn't blame them for the kids not getting the education that they should have.
And one of the things too that I've been seeing, especially since COVID, is a lot more of the districts, a lot more of the government institutions are doing things online. So you know, just to your point, you might not have the energy to go and all the way to the other side of town to be at a meeting, but at least now a lot of places have the opportunity to just log into a Zoom meeting and participate that way, see what's going on, and just have a better understanding. But that requires a school district to be transparent that way and really put it out there what they're doing. Some places want to just keep it under wraps.
Yeah. Parenting is different than it was when we were kids. I'm like I said, I'm 68. I don't know how old you are, but
Yeah, I'm in mid 50s.
yeah. So we didn't have pagers back then.
No, we didn't.
You know, we still had the party line.
That's right, the phone on the wall.
Yeah, and somebody else might be on there. You might have to say, "Can you get off the phone? I got to make a call real
Yep.
quick." You know, so the day-to-day things in a home today are just they've changed. But some of these parents are raising their kids. Basically, they're the adults.
Yeah.
Because parents want to check out. They're tired. They want to go have a couple drinks outside in the lawn or whatever, however they spend their time. And I don't know, they're a lot younger than we are. So, is there that much distance between children and their parents? That way, when they're still rearing them, they've had them since they're infants.
Yeah. I think ultimately, though, it just comes down to they want the best education for their kids.
Yeah, I think there's something to be said about, and it is going to change because it's inevitable. When you don't teach them responsibility and that there's consequences to choices you make.
Oh yeah, definitely.
You don't have to get mad at them or lay a hand on them. You just explain it to them, and then be patient because they'll either learn or you repeat it. And I don't mean yelling at them or anything.
No.
It's like I could just say with my stepkids. Jared was the youngest, and he tried to say, "Jared, you clean your room?" Oh, you go. Since he was in like fifth grade, fourth grade, fifth or sixth, somewhere in there, he never wanted to clean his room. So I don't. Okay, but I knew sooner or later he's going to think it's his turn to get a driver's license. And sure enough, the day arrived, and he still doesn't clean his room. Still didn't say anything to him about it that way. I just, he understood that he couldn't have a phone without somebody signing the contract to buy it. You can't have a car without plates or a driver's license without somebody signing for you.
That's right.
And, as they get to be teenagers, you start letting them know some of these things. And it goes in one ear and out the other until it's time to figure this out. So with Jared, his mom didn't want to take him driving. So about the fifth time I took him out driving, he's going along and he says, "Yeah, Mom says I can go get my driver's license Thursday." I said, "She did?" He says, "Yeah." And I said, "Well, that's cool." I said, "Take a right up here." And take another right. And just take that next right. And he says, "Well, that's going back home." I says, "Yeah, you don't need to drive anymore. You got this. Your mom said so. You just said she said so. He said, but I want to drive. I said, I don't know if you know what my point is. I said, but if you wanted to drive, I said, you go take your driver's license test and you find out. That I can't do for you.
Mm-hmm.
Anyways, a few months later, he shows up, and I hadn't known it, but he was out squealing his tires, driving a little too fast,
Mm.
and he was on his last ticket. And the court said that if you come back to the courthouse with one of your parents and you watch this video, I don't know, they set aside that ticket or something until he's 18, and then they just get rid of it.
Mm.
And he'll still be able to drive, which I thought was kind of strange, but those things change too, I guess. Anyways, so his dad didn't have time to go with him to watch the video. I said, so what'd your mom say? Well, she said she was busy too. I said, oh. And then I said, you know, Jared, I said, do you know why we told you all those years to go clean your room and you didn't do it? Do you know why we told you that? And of course, the typical 16-year-old is going to go, oh, God, that again?
Mm-hmm.
I said, careful. I said, I just want to see if you know. He goes, no, I don't know. I said, we knew this day was coming. From our perspective, anyways. And we knew that if you're going to have a license and be driving a car, we have to be able to trust you to have good judgment when we can't be there, when we're not there. I said, that's what that was about, was you having things to do, keeping you with those opportunities to show that you can be responsible.
Right on.
And do the little things we ask you to do. It wasn't too much for you. You're very capable, but you wouldn't do it. So that's why you're having trouble right now. It's not my doings. I don't know if it's anyone but yours. It wasn't that hard to do.
Yeah,
It just it's like a light come on behind his eyes.
yeah.
It dawned on him.
Well, and that's just it. You know, that raising kids, that and good on you for explaining it to him that way. The way I always think of it is, what is it? Jordan Peterson, I think, when he wrote that book about becoming a man, and, you know, the how to become a man or something like that. But it was that idea of making your bed. If you making your bed every day, it builds self-discipline, it builds responsibility, it builds, and over time, every day, you know, there are always those days when we don't feel like doing the things we know we need to do. But that little bit of self-discipline, that little bit of responsibility, it adds up and it adds up and it adds up. And that, like you said, very well, you know, from 5 to 16, it gets to the point where now you know you can trust them.
Yep, they're teaching us to be able to trust them.
Yeah, I like that.
And you give them opportunities without harping on them. And if they just kind of grow up not listening, not bothering, don't think they have to. The kids today are way different than that even.
Yeah. Well, I think it's the parents too, to be honest with you. It's the kids and the parents. I think the parents have gotten attitudes. They're a little lazier than they used to be.
They are, but you know what's going to happen with them? They're going to have to live at home because they can't hold a job.
Yeah, that's a good point. Those consequences of being a lazy parent are that your kids stay with you longer and you got to keep taking care of them.
Those businesses and that employers that told Sam Russ, the superintendent, teach them to be work on time. Make sure they know they're going to work all day and to stay off their phones. They know what they're dealing with.
Yeah.
For them, there's a bottom line. And that's not mom and dad, that's the world. And the world if you don't learn what you need to learn at home and love in a safe environment, when you get out in the world, they'll eat you alive if you don't grow up real fast.
Yeah, and that's a good point too. Like you were just saying there, that some of what those employers were asking for are the things that parents are supposed to teach, not the schools. The schools should be teaching arithmetic so that when those kids go to work at a convenience store, they can do the math and do the change in their head without having to rely on a calculator. I don't know how many times I've been at a store and the internet's down or the power's out and these kids have no idea how to count change.
Yeah.
Those are the skills that the teachers, that the schools should be helping with.
I end up, Beth is the oldest girl. Jared was the youngest boy. Andrew was older than Beth. He only had like a year to go to college or a year of high school, and he only needed a credit to graduate. And he was a skateboarder and loved grunge, if you know what that is.
Oh, yeah.
And,
I was in college in the 90s.
Okay. Okay, so you got it. That's
You bet.
when I had it. And I knew that they were going to be reluctant to trust me because I was new. And I married their mom and I just thought, it's going to take a while for them to, I got to earn their trust. And I was just fine with that. And the oldest one, oh boy, he pulled some real dandies there, trying his darndest to get me bent on a shape.
Mm-hmm.
And I look at him and I'd smile. He says, "What are you smiling about?" I said, "Because I expect this." He goes, "What?" I said, "Yeah. This is perfectly natural for you to see where the boundaries are."
Mm-hmm.
And I know I'm capable of showing you all the boundaries right now. But I don't need to because you're going to learn pretty much on your own. I'm just here to guide you. I want to be able to help you think stuff through and learn to make your own decisions and make good ones too. You're not hurting yourself.
There you go.
You know, so he left the house, got an apartment, got a job, and it was a good job. But then his friends found out he had an apartment and a car and a job. And then they wanted to hang out. And pretty soon he lost his apartment. Then he lost his job. And I'm answering the phone, and he says, "How do I put myself back under your authority, and so I can move home?" And he told me what happened. And I told him, I said, I don't have a problem with it at all, but I gotta have a chance to talk to your mom, and then we can talk. Okay? I don't want to say something without her involved in it too.
Mm-hmm.
He said, "Okay." But it took him to go through all that stuff to find out what a lot of the things he'd already heard from me and from her. We weren't pulling his leg. He was set pretty good. He had a good job. So I told him, I said, he wanted to be in the year before that, or the fall before this happened. He wanted to be in drama. That was his thing. Is in like show choir and play acting and stuff. And it was a big school, so there was a lot of kids. And I would load up my tools and stuff and go help them do stage settings and different things like that. And
oh, cool.
he tried to embarrass me in front of all them kids, thinking pretty dirty, shitty things to me. And I just smile. He got to find out what that smile was all about. Because I expected those things, and I needed to acknowledge them, so I wouldn't be any harder than I needed to be. I guess.
Yeah, right on.
So he put up a good fight, but he ended up loving me like a dad.
Nice.
And he went into college. He's a smart kid. I brought him up here to Wisconsin to do another handcrafted log building for Justin Trail's Bed and Breakfast.
Oh, fun.
Just out of town by Leon.
Yeah.
And the boys come up with me and stayed over the winter because started it with a class, and then we came up in November and we stayed till April to finish it. And Andy would, he didn't want to have to be there, want to be with his friends and all this stuff. And I said, no, you go back when I go back. That was your mom's thing. Because she didn't think she could handle him by herself.
Mm-hmm.
So anyways, I remember this is like almost in the middle of April. We're driving back to Indianapolis. And we're talking, and I said, you know what, Andy? Because when he wanted to be in drama, I said, colleges they like math and science. I said, can you pick out a class to take at least? So you know what he did? He went and he signed up for physics, trigonometry, and calculus.
Wow.
He didn't have to study. He never brought anything home, and he got straight A's.
Wow, smart kid.
So almost a year later now, we're driving back to Indianapolis from up here. And I said, Andy, if somebody was told me I had to do trigonometry, let alone the other two, physics and calculus, I said, I'd just go shoot myself.
No.
Wait, I wasn't going to cut it.
I struggled through physics and calculus in college.
Right.
I mean, I busted my butt hard for that, and I
I
barely
went
got
through
a C.
Right. It's tough, but he's one of them kids. It's just that stuff comes easy to him.
Wow, that's amazing.
One of the things he was lacking was just like common sense
Mm-hmm.
and some hand skills, working with tools, working with like with the log buildings. He would go to classes with me that I would teach and different things like that. But he said, well, I don't want to be a carpenter. I says, good. There's not much money in it. And when you wear your body out, there'll be someone else that'll step right over you, replace you. I said, but you know what? I said, you can go anywhere in the country and walk on a job site and have a job doing that.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
So you're young and you'd like to do something like that, go around the country and see some of it and take a skateboard and a couple buddies. You would have a way to take care of yourself. I think it's worth the effort for you to learn some of these things.
Well, and just the experience of it too. Just the experience of it too. I remember I've told people this before too. Like the first job I had as a young teenager was baling hay on my uncle's farm and other neighboring farms in the area. I grew up in the area around Platteville. But what I learned from that experience, how to work hard all day long, that was the big thing. But the second thing that I learned, the really important part of it, I think, I want to be a software engineer.
There you go.
But it was great experience. Learn how to work hard and know that is not what I wanted to do for the rest of my life.
Sure. I said, and I told you, his name was Andy. I said, another thing is that when you get through college and you're making all this money and stuff, that I believe you're going to do, I say, when you hire a plumber to come and do something, you're going to know something about that.
And you'll respect it.
And you're not going to get snookered.
Yeah. Well, and you respect it too. I remember when my wife and I were having our house built here and the carpenters and everybody doing the work. And I was just like, God bless you guys. I could never do it. And they always looked at me and said, well, God bless you, Chris, because I can't build a computer and I sure as hell can't program it.
There you go.
We all working together. We all have skills that God blessed us with. So it all works out.
Right? It does. So when he went to college, he did a 4-year program in 2 years in Southern Illinois. And then he went out to Pittsburgh and he did his master's in a year instead of 2.
Wow. Nice.
And then before he got done with that, he got chosen to be a PhD. What do they call it when they're going to go through a PhD program where they'll help teach the other classes for the professor.
Oh, yeah, I got you.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I'm drawing a blank on the name of it.
He got selected for that, and he got his PhD, I think, in 2 or 3 years.
Wow. That's amazing.
And his first job out of college then he was the head of the psychiatric services for the Pennsylvania state prison system
Wow. Good for
at
him.
about 22 years old, 23.
Good
So
for
yeah,
him. That's great.
I told him on the way home from to Indianapolis, I said, Andy, I said, you're one of them people that are going to be doing something that's going to be helping people.
Mm-hmm.
You got a brain, you know how to use it, you're smart, and you learn quick.
No, that's
Don't
great.
cheapen yourself. Don't settle for the easy thing. And I said that kind of a tongue in cheek there. I said because schoolwork to you is nothing. No sweat. So
Yeah.
he did. And that summer, and then summers going through all that, he framed houses.
Cool.
Yeah. Had a way to earn money instead of flipping burgers.
Yeah, there's always something to be done out there, you know. That's the fun part about it.
Yeah. So I homeschooled the others from, I think Jared was in 5th grade and Beth must have been in like 7th or 8th. And then Gemma joined us. She was an orphan from the Philippines, that a lady that had 2 teenagers that went to the same church as us went out there to adopt her.
Mm.
And so, but she was having trouble, and the lady, I guess, was kind of mean. So anyways, those 3 homeschooled them, and one of the greatest experiences I've had. And I've had a lot of them.
Well, that's awesome. I mean, what a great amount of experience too. And then to be able to sit on the school board and help guide them through the kinds of experiences that they're going to have. Now, one thing before I let you get out of here, and I know it's after 8 already, if you don't mind, a few more minutes, but like when it comes to school board decisions, like a lot of the budgetary stuff, it seems like, are where things get hung up. How do you foresee like balancing the needs of schools and still respecting and protecting the taxpayers?
I did a Zoom that fall before I filed as a candidate, and it was a school district in Atlanta, a Cobb County school district. I think there's like 8,000 or 9,000 kids in it, and they rejected all this ideology indoctrination crap.
Yeah.
And their mission statement was, we are an academics only focused. Our only focus is academics in this school. You apply to the school, and like any other school, and we'll have sports and activities for kids. There's not a lot of change. It's just none of that stuff we don't want to spend money on. It doesn't put food on their tables. You know, it was just very straightforward, and it took off. It's so successful. Their retention is like at 95% of teachers.
Wow.
For teachers, where all these other schools can't hang on to them. And a lot of them are just resigning because they can't handle the way they're having to deal with these. They're putting special education kids in with general ed because, well, it's only right he should be able to be with the other kids. Well, yes, if he can control his emotion.
Right.
And the law says if they can't and they start throwing stuff and spitting on people and punching teachers, they're not in the right setting.
Yeah,
And so
it just creates a big distraction for all the other students.
Well, it's a huge distraction. It was my discovery this year because I didn't know. I'm like anybody else. If the kids aren't learning, what the heck is going on with the teachers?
Mm-hmm.
I found out there's nothing wrong with the teachers. They love them kids, and they put up with all this stuff that the DPI throws at them.
Mm-hmm.
Next year, they're going to have another 4 changes of curriculums at I believe it's the middle school. And they do stuff like this every year. And when I heard a teacher explain that to me the other day, I thought to myself, you know what? Jill Underly said that very thing last fall. And when she got asked about why she's going to have to update grading annually, she was ready. She had an answer. She says it's because as frequently as curriculums change and technology, what was the other thing? There was some other part of that component there, but anyways, she says we can't keep up to it. We have to update it every year. So I don't know if you know what she did.
No, I'm not familiar with that.
In June of 2024, by herself, she changed grading from letter grades and a couple other little hooey things they were doing to strictly 3 things: exceeds expectations, meets expectations, or does not meet expectations. So I looked at a teacher and I said, so what are the expectations? And they kind of looked like, oh, I suppose whatever she says it is. I said, exactly.
Yeah, that's crazy.
So they took the power away from the parents, the authority away from the parents by doing that, because now when it comes to parent-teacher conference, if they still call it that, parents are going to come in there all upset, asking questions. They won't have any questions.
Yeah.
They'll be told that, well, how do we compare it to last year? You can't.
Right, exactly. You're going to have parents who are really engaged in wanting to make sure that their kids get a good education come in. In the olden days, you would say, okay, he's a C student. Now, how do we get him to be a B student?
Right.
But now what are they going to say? Well, he's not satisfying now, but how do we get to satisfaction? Well, it depends on what day and which person you ask. It's ridiculous.
Yeah, it is. And another thing they did this year officially is they got rid of letter grades.
Wow.
Letter grades had numbers. I don't know, like an A was 92 to 100.
Right.
Maybe, I don't know. And there's no GPA anymore.
Oh my.
And there's no honor roll. You know
how do you know if you're doing well?
You know what that is, Chris? That's communism.
That's what it sounds like. Getting everybody into a kind of a Marxist mindset.
They have their sight set on what they will purpose you for.
Jeez.
And you're either going to be good at it or mediocre, or we don't need you. And the ones that they don't need won't be alive very long.
That's crazy.
That's what that is.
Yeah, it's like a what do you call it? A spin-off of Animal Farm.
Yeah.
Wow.
There's something called UNESCO. It's a part of the UN.
Right.
They have a world education system set up.
Yeah.
And its teachers' unions are eagerly getting involved with them and trying to play a role in that coming into the States.
That's
the teachers'
so
unions
crazy.
are doing that. They're taking money from the teachers for dues and giving it to them.
Wow.
To buy in, be a stakeholder. They love that word.
Yeah. Well, and sitting on the school board, and like I said, I mean, maybe maybe there are ways that you can help guide things back to more of an Americanism attitude when it comes to the budget and things like that. Maybe there are ways, because you'll have the power to set the budgets and those guidelines, right?
The board does, but if let's see, there's 7 of them. If 6 of them are socialists, and I'm the only conservative, from my perspective as a veteran,
Is that the way it would work out if you win that election?
yeah.
6-1.
If,
Wow.
and if
So you'll be the
way I
one
read-
voice of reason on the school board.
yeah. So I have an idea what I would do, but they wouldn't like it. I want the school district to have an audit done that gives a line item list of what they spend their money on.
There you go.
They spend $48 million like it's a glass of water.
Yeah.
What I mean is, you never ever hear about anything about that $45 million that they always get. You know, there was a general that said, I don't know who he was, but he said that you can't go fight a war with the things that you wish you had to fight it with. So you have to fight the war with what you have.
Yep.
Because there's no alternative. He said, when he said that, he's saying a lot of things there, but people make excuses for not doing their jobs. They point fingers, and I can't believe you got people at the level of the superintendent that would blame kids.
Yeah. Well, and one of the things that I've done in my career, 30 years in information technology, we would do time studies at our clients and see like what is it people are doing, minute by minute, hour by hour, day by day. What are the steps? What are the things that they're doing? And then we would find ways to automate that with some computer technologies and help so that those people could then go off and work on. I used to say we would find ways for the computers to do the computing so that the humans could do the humaning. We would automate the things that were redundant. You know what I mean? And so maybe those kinds of studies could be conducted in the school district. Find out where people are really, duplicative work and eliminate that duplication, or automate some things and streamline processes or something like that. I like where your head's at though with an audit. That's a great point.
Well, I go to the some different meetings. One's the GOP, Monroe County GOP. We have a breakfast every couple of weeks that we go to different places, and I talk to other people. I guess some are like-minded, some listen for a while, and it's kind of over their head, maybe.
Right? You might go a little too deep for them.
Huh?
You might go a little too deep for them, huh?
Well, I'm passionate about it because I look at it as though the kids are being abused. The kids are being abused. You can't make up this time in their lives. And they fetter it away with other. They busied themselves with an $87 million facilities referendum they got last year. So that's their gleeful, cheerful, come to work, and let's do that. Because they don't want to teach. If you can come to us and say you need $87 million to make sure these kids all are reading at grade level by the time they graduate.
There you go.
Or for each grade before they pass from grade to grade.
Yeah, get little Jill and little Johnny from a C student to a B student.
One of the chair of the whole, I guess they call it, kind of speaks for him. He's not the president, but he's Colin Burns Gilbert. He says he writes a letter to the editor just about right now last year before the election, and he's got a question in there. He says, how do we convince people to move here and businesses to move to Sparta? And he answers his own question because he's quite excited about this money coming in or anticipating it. And you know what he said? He said, you invest emphatically at historic levels, fixing the place up. And I wrote a letter that come out after the election, timing, But I said, no, that's not going to make a move here. When the people are smart enough to start a business and all that, they're going to be wanting to know if these are good schools for their kids.
Mm-hmm.
And you can teach in a tent.
Good
I did
point.
it for 36 years.
That is a great point.
Yeah, it's true though.
No, it's a very good point.
You just it gets real frustrating sometimes, but they, if I get on the board, that's the kind of things I'll do, and I'll keep trying to make a motion to do an audit.
Yeah, I think that's a great point.
And if they don't do it before the year's up, then I'm going to put something in there that says I don't think we need this superintendent services anymore, and this board needs to be replaced.
Wow.
I will tell them that.
Wow. Well, and I mean, if you're the only voice of reason out there, those might be the drastic moves you have to make to get any attention.
I may end up with a little column in the newspaper because I'll be, if I think it's important and something that they need to know, or to keep updated on, like that audit, it'll be in the paper.
Yeah. Well, there you go.
I will embarrass that board and that superintendent until they get their butt in line or go find another place to do what they're doing.
Well, and it's not you embarrassing them. It's you shining a light on their activity and them embarrassing themselves.
Well, they'll act like they're embarrassed or like they just can't stand me. But it isn't that. It isn't that I hate them. It's just this isn't what these kids need, and you know it, and you don't care.
Right. Well, and like we were talking about before, it's the idea of accountability in the system. Some of these folks are not used to being held accountable, and so that becomes a very uncomfortable conversation.
Yeah.
But that is fascinating stuff. And I mean, we've been talking about it now for quite a while, and I want to be respectful of your time. Are there what's the best way for my audience to reach out if they want to learn even more or help support your campaign there in Sparta?
My email address, you've got that, and my number is, and they should text me because I drive school bus. I won't answer the phone at different times of the day. 608-487-6452.
All right. Sounds good. I'll make sure that I get your email out there too.
I got a letter from the superintendent from that school down there in Plainfield, Indiana, with just one line across the top that said, I need to see you about this if you're going to keep your kids out of school. So I went in to see the superintendent, and he handed me a copy of it. It was just a full page, blank page with that line saying that they reserve the right to test these kids and place them as they see fit, whatever grade level they'd be in. It was just a nasty way of saying, I don't like you doing this. Anyways, so I had the audacity. I think he took it as audacity. I wasn't doing, gosh, I know I seem like I'm belligerent or just trying to irritate him, but I wanted to know because you hear things in the news and stuff. And so the thing that pushed me out the door to do this was hearing that Susie's got two moms. You remember Tom, Dick, and Jane?
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, that's the kind of books they were handing out in the schools, and that's what was starting to happen down there already.
Oh, boy.
And so I asked him, I said, do you have any recommendations of curriculums I could look through? Because we didn't have the internet just yet. So it was a little more difficult to do your research.
Right.
But anyways, he just kind of glared at me and he says, no. I said, so how do you guys do it? Do you create your own curriculums? He goes, yeah, we can do that. I said, so how do you do it? He said, well, we have a committee of teachers and parents. And then Milton Griffin or whatever, these different textbook vendors produce. The salesmen come in and they show them their books, and they go through them and they pick out books, textbooks. And I said the quiet thing out loud. I said, so the best salesman gets the sale, and that's what the kids are learning. I said, I don't know if I like that idea. That it leaves a lot of questions.
Yeah.
The more I look into what you're doing here, I said, I don't know if I could fail if I just said good morning and went fishing. And he's pointed towards his door. So
Wow.
I'm very protective of my kids,
Yeah.
and I don't like bullies. My boss come to my boss when I got back Thursday after route PM, and he said, "Did you see a fight on the bus?" I said, "No." He said, "A girl got kicked in the teeth." I said, "Geez, none of them said anything to me, for crying out loud." So he said, I got to try and figure this out because somebody's calling. Talked to him already once, and they're trying to get to the bottom of it. So Friday, I got to the middle school, got all the kids on the bus, and I closed the doors and turned the sound dampener down so that they could hear me. Then I got in the middle of the bus and I said, I've been told that a girl got kicked in the teeth and a girl and a boy were fighting on the bus. I said, who are they? And they didn't really want to say right away. And I said, the boy, I didn't know who the boy was. I said, I don't tolerate bullies on the bus. And I says, I want you all to know that the reason I'm kind of a little hard on you to make sure you stay seated in your seat out of the aisle, keep your hands to yourself, is because I'm listening. I'm listening. I was a bouncer in a nightclub for 8 years in Sparta here at the night theater, and I could hear distress sounds. Somebody getting throttled under a table, or somebody putting a glass on the floor and smashing it against the bar in a very loud nightclub. And they'd turn around and I'd be standing there watching them. And I said, I hear those things, but when you guys are screaming and being goofballs, I said, I can't hear that as well anymore. And I said, I want to know if somebody's getting hurt. It isn't just me driving. It isn't just an accident. It's you going home to your parents, not getting hurt. I said, so, and sometimes I'm giving them the what for, but I usually make time to tell them. I said, I get up at 4 o'clock in the morning so I can get the school bus an hour before I leave so I can warm the bus up for you. I said, we like what we do. We love you kids. We care about kids. That's why we're here. Or we couldn't do this because you guys are really hard on us. And they laugh. I can have them laughing or sometimes just kind of looking at me like, whoa.
Yeah.
But they got to listen. And that's like being a dad.
Yeah, good for you,
if
man.
you can have some humor and some laughter and also get the serious parts of it across to them.
You bet.
That's, So anyways, so I said, I told him that. And then I said, no, I need to know who kicked the girl and where's the girl at? The girl stood up and she said, he kicked me. And then I looked back to the back of the bus and 5 other guys were pointing at him. So he had his chin stuck in his chest. I said, come with me. I think he thought he was going to get thrown off the bus, but I took him to a front seat. And I said, there's your seat for the rest of the year.
There you go.
Don't kick girls in the teeth. There's going to be some guy around that they ain't going to put up with that. You got to learn learning something. So I went back and I told my boss that I said, I found the boy and the girl. He said, "You getting their names?" I said, "No, but I pushed the button on the cameras." I'm the guy that'll tell the kids, "Do you know there's eight cameras on this bus, don't you?" There's only 3. You can look for them. The dumbbells, they'll sit right in front of a camera and do the darndest things and not even know they did it.
Wow.
And lie and lie and lie on film.
Wow.
It's funny. It's not, but it is.
Yeah.
It's
It's one of those things you either laugh about it or cry about it, right?
Yeah, yeah. With my kids, if they got in trouble and I needed to talk to them, they'd be all upset and anxious and that about it. And I said, "Sit down and relax." "What?"
Mhm.
"Yeah, sit down. We're gonna have a talk." And they didn't understand that. They thought they're gonna get a spanking or get yelled at. I said, "I don't have to yell at you." I said, chickens. I know I'm dragging this out, but if you put pigs or chickens or cows or horses or anything in a pasture, they'll walk them fences and walk them until there's a path worn in the ground that won't grow grass anymore. They'll walk it so often, so much, so long.
Mhm.
And I said, "You know why they're doing that?" "Why?" I said, "Because they want to know them boundaries are for real. They
Mhm.
feel safer knowing that there's nothing else getting in their pasture, the pen." And then chickens, the same thing. If a chicken's injured, the rest of them will pick at it till it's dead. I says, "That's what you kids do to each other out on the playground when you're picking and fighting and bullying each other." I said, "You got to grow up. Don't do that.
Yeah.
You find an adult if somebody's being a bully. Make sure they know."
Right on.
Yep. Well,
Well, sir, it has been a pleasure chatting with you. Do you have anything else you wanna give the audience before I let you get out of here for tonight?
no, I think I did quite a bit, actually. We did go over a half hour, didn't we?
Yes, sir. This
Sorry
is
about
this
that.
is great stuff. No, that's fine. Like I said, the beauty of podcast, in my opinion, is we can just have a good, authentic conversation about stuff. People can get a good feeling about who you are, and
Yeah.
then
Yeah.
we'll get that vote out for you.
There was something I wanted to mention while we are doing this, because I think that John Christie had either mentioned it to you or Bernard.
Yeah.
Our superintendent went to sent messages out to the teachers early in the morning on the 10th and 11th to the Herman Elementary School and the middle school, and told them he wanted to meet them during the day, an assembly, a general assembly of just the teachers, of the working staff, the adult,
Mm-hmm.
to talk about passing the referendum. And it's illegal for him to use school property and resources and promote or advocate for or against
That's right.
a referendum or a voting issue. Excuse me. And he did it anyway, and he did it twice, at least twice. I don't know if he went to the other schools. I don't communicate so much with those.
Mm.
Teachers let me know this stuff.
Who can you
And
file a complaint to get that investigated?
I called the Wisconsin Institute for Law and Order, Law and Liberty,
Mm-hmm.
or emailed them rather, and they acknowledged that they got it. I don't know if they're must be busy or somewhat or not, but I haven't heard back from them yet.
Okay.
But yeah, I would like to know that too. That would be one of the questions I'd like to ask, because I think the community needs to know that before they vote.
That's kind of important. Yeah. I mean, if they're violating those rules, those laws, in order to get that passed, that's a big deal.
I think they would be even that much more upset about it if they find out after they voted.
Oh, yeah.
He
Because once the
knows
vote
better
is
than
over,
that.
the vote is over.
Right. Right. That can't be undone. It's like saying something you didn't really mean.
Exactly.
You can't take it back.
They're not going to undo the election.
No. So Yeah, that's part of what I'm working on this. I'm running for board, and I did it last year, but it wasn't so I could sit on the board.
Right.
I wanted to get involved and do what I could do. Maybe set an example for the parents or the folks in the community. You need to get in there and do something here.
Yeah. Well, like you
Spend
said
some of your
earlier, I
time
mean,
there
just
because
being
I
that
can't
voice
do it
of
all by
reason on
myself.
there.
Huh?
Just being
What?
that one voice of reason, at least.
Right? That's what I'm trying to do. Um, when I find an official, let's say it that way, that will lie to me or he'll blame the kids and things like that,
Yeah.
I'll know if he's lying. And I'll toy with him a little bit to see what else he's got to say that he thinks he's so smart about.
Yeah.
You know, it's they have 11 admin that they spend over $2 million for fringe benefits and salaries on just those 11.
Yeah.
And the teachers hardly get much of a raise if they get one at all year to year.
That
And they're doing all the work.
that is so
They
wrong.
call it FaceTime. They're face to face with the kids, the ones that are throwing chairs and desks and
Hmm.
books and computers. Uh, the admin are slow to respond if they do. You don't know when they're coming, so she's on her own until somebody comes in there to help her.
That is
And
crazy.
it's not a condition of employment to be willing to get your butt kicked in your job.
Well, and it
It's
just
just
goes to
not.
show, I had this conversation with another person in the lacrosse school district who was talking about there are so many assistants to assistants. And instead of
Yeah,
hiring all these people in the administration, why don't they send that money over to the classrooms where they are needed?
right. Either have more people or, eh, the teachers themselves, they will tell you it isn't about pay. You could, I don't know that you could pay enough money to where getting kicked in the whatever. I mean, you're just getting spit at and cut up. They get split lips. Some have had the teeth knocked out of them. These kids aren't little. Uh, some of them are pre-K through senior. Some of them eighth graders, seventh graders, sixth graders. If they punch you in the chin or the nose, you're going to feel it.
Yep.
And the teachers should not have to be in fear of that.
No,
So
that's a good point.
when they finally do get the kid out of there and they go calm them down, usually the principal is taking them to their office and they'll calm them down. He'll give them a candy bar and take them back to the classroom. And expect the teacher, they're told, to welcome them back as if it never happened.
Yeah. Unbelievable.
So what are you teaching them kids and general ed kids that just witnessed either her getting hurt, attacked, the room literally tore apart.
Yeah.
What do you tell them kids? They're traumatized. I had a class of my own come in Friday. Yeah, it was Friday. And they couldn't settle down and they were bickering between each other, just kind of sniping back and forth. It's like, these are guys are best friends and stuff. And I said, what is going on today? Tell me about it. Just put your book down and let me know what's going on. So they said, well, we've kind of had our own stuff to deal with in our classroom. I said, what was that? And so it was one of these meltdowns where a kid just generally tore the place up and screaming and yelling and throwing stuff. And they're just in amazement. They sit there and the teacher gets herself between them, the kid doing this and the rest of the kids. It's terrible.
Yeah.
And they're scared. And some of them, I mean, they're getting old enough by the time they're in fourth grade, third grade. They're actually getting to where, well, no, I wouldn't hit my mom.
Yeah.
And I don't like seeing you hit my teacher. I mean, they say stuff like that. And it's disrupting in so many ways. It isn't just the noise. They can scream for hours.
Mm.
And if sometimes, some days throughout that building, there could be 4 or 5 of them out in the hallways because that seems to be what they're trying to do is a para, I don't know what that stands for, but a counselor or assistant counselor will come and sit with them and not really talk to them, just be there. So there's adult, watch them do this meltdown. But it's out in the hallway and you can hear it throughout the whole building.
Yeah. How many meltdowns does it take before a kid gets kicked out?
I have no idea.
Because it seems to me that if it's a pattern, if it's a trend, maybe the school isn't the best place for that child.
It has gotten so frequent, so common that the kids that aren't autistic or ADHD or whatever some of the other issues are, and they're real issues. This isn't picking on those kids. They're just in the wrong setting.
Right. Maybe the public school isn't the right place for them. Maybe there's another facility they can go and learn.
Should not be exposed to harm.
Yeah. Yeah. There's a lot of challenges you're going to be faced with there like that.
Our superintendent loves to say the safety and the well-being of our students and our teachers is our highest priority. And there's been some times he said that again, and I just want to get up and say that's a lie.
Well, it's the words. He's saying the words, but where are the actual deeds to back that up?
Right. Women and children are supposed to be not put in those situations.
Right.
And it's really bad because it's men that are doing this.
Yeah.
There are some women at different levels, but like the business manager, she doesn't deal with that stuff. I'm talking about the principals and superintendent.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know how they insulate themselves from it, but I think sometimes if they can find another reason not to be around to answer those calls, I don't know if they do that or not, but the teachers are they're getting burned out. And that was one of my questions when I first interviewed with Sam. I was interviewing him whether he realized it or not when he was supposed to do that presentation. Is that these teachers? How come you have such trouble holding on to teachers? Your turnover is really high. He says, "Well, we're a school district that gets some of the young teachers out of college come to us, and they learn the ropes here." And he maybe didn't think I understood that what he was saying so much. But and then they'll stay a year or two, and then they go looking for a better paying job. And that's what a lot of college graduates do, because they got to go to work. They got bills to pay.
Sure. But you shouldn't treat it like a stepping stone. You should treat it like you want excellence there.
Right. Nobody doing an interview wants to hear that.
Exactly. Wow. That's fascinating. Well, wow. We could go another hour, my friend. we better cut it off at this point, or we're going to keep going.
Okay. I want to get you in trouble.
Yeah, this has been awesome. I thank you so much for the time.
I want you